happens is it's a moment for you to stand as the elders come in and take their seats over here in this particular part. In our culture, that is a sign of respect. So if there are any other elders out here that want to come in with the elders, you can please join us now in the hallway over there. Are there any other elders that want from the community that want to walk in when we walk in? Are there any other? I'm looking at y'all. We already did that. Y'all are so used to TV and the internet. Boy, I tell you. Normally, you know, we would be sitting in a circle. That would really be tough. But right now, we okay. Are y'all okay? Y'all don't want to walk in with the other elders and stuff like that? Okay, all right. But I'll leave that alone right now. So the elders should be meeting in the hallway. The elders should be meeting in the hallway.
What you trying to say, Baba?
I'm trying to say the elders should be meeting in the hallway. And the special guest should be meeting in the hallway with the elders so he can come in when they come in. Is that okay? I don't think I did. Did y'all hear me? Oh, you said unfortunately.
Now you know you can hear me.
All right, let's have the elders in the hallway. I want to take a moment of silence because it is very important what I have to say now. Are y'all finished coming in and out of that door? Huh? I don't know because I'm getting cold. I don't know about y'all. But y'all sitting up in here like y'all getting ready to go in a snowstorm. Look at y'all. Everybody got their coat on and everything. All right. It is very important. I go. I go means may I have your attention? I may mean yes. You may have my. Oh, the door's back open again. It is very important that we understand language. And the language of our culture is important to us. Every time we come up with something in our language, a symbol or something, somebody else remain nameless right now. Yeah, will remain nameless. But y'all know who I'm talking about, right?
Yes.
Y'all know what I'm talking about? Raise your hand if you know what I'm talking about. Only 1, 2, 3, 4 people know what I'm talking about. So the rest of y'all hide. Okay. All right. Anyway, language is very important. And as the drum call sounds, remember, that's our stuff. If you go to a party and there's music on and there's no bass in the music, what's the first thing you do? You check that thing and see something wrong with that machine, right? Now this is church, I say, can I get a witness? Can I get a witness? Because everywhere we go is spiritual, so let's work with that. So if there's no bass in the music, if there's no bottom in it, all the elders are supposed to be in the hallway, getting ready to march in. Even the young elders are supposed to be in the hallway. All supposed to be in the hallway, marching in, so that we can start on, well, we did that. No, you good. So, the bass in the music lets us know immediately it is our music. For instance, how many of y'all listen to country western music? Raise your hand. I do. You know why? The most dominant instrument in country western music is the banjo. Y'all know where that instrument comes from? That instrument's an African instrument. Yeah, a lot of the stuff over there, we'll leave that alone. So as the drummers come in, and the elders join the drummers coming in, y'all may stand if you want to, if you can. If you can't stand, that's okay. I want y'all to pay particular attention tonight to the language of our culture. What does our culture sound like? And what does it look like? Because a lot of things that you see in the culture here, they come from our culture. Like how many of y'all know what the dollar bill looks like? Raise your hand if you know. Now y'all act like y'all don't see me up here. Now you know what a dollar bill looks like. That eye on the dollar bill is straight out of our culture. It's the third eye. It's the eye of...
What happens when you move?
the pyramid on there, straight out of our, everything on that dollar bill. Except George. But George, wait a minute, but George was studying the system. It was called the Masonic system. But anyway, I'm gonna leave that alone for right now. Are y'all doing okay?
Yeah.
Are y'all doing okay?
Yeah.
All right. What is the day? Habagane.
Nia.
Nia means what?
Purpose.
All right. So we're getting ready to get started now. First of all, I want y'all to give all these young people over here a round of applause. Come on, y'all. All right, thank you. Here they come. Hopefully.
Already.
All right. In the house here. First of all, we want to thank the King Arthur Complex and the Kwanzaa staff. From what I understand, this night will continue on tomorrow at your homes, and then the next night, either in Dayton or at your home. To begin in this house, I would ask for, is it on? Hello, hello? If you're going to give it to me, it has to be on. Am I supposed to turn a switch?
Give me that, man. Give me that.
It's your mic. Oh, that's not.
No, it's not. It's my mic. I know what to do with it.
You gotta give you the host.
Sure.
Okay, so it was a trick mic. That's what it was. All right. In this house right now, we have different families who have come together. That's what the drum call was about. It calls the families together. And right now, I have to ask permission, not only from the elders, but also from the Queen Mother. So elders, may I have your permission to ask permission for us to begin the ceremony? Where's the swap? What happened to the swap? Oh, here we go. We got one. Okay. Queen Mother, welcome. Is it okay if I start? All right. I don't know if y'all know who is over here, but I'll let her introduce herself. In fact, I'll let her daughter do it.
This is Mrs. Ann B. Walker, Queen Mother Nana Quiba the First in Kosohima of Mozano Village in the central region of Accra of Ghana. That's who she is.
And we know her as Ann Walker from Channel 4, who got all, well, I'm taking a thing here, but a lot of the folks of color could not be on the television.
That's right.
Ms. Walker was the one who made sure, that the ones that you see there now got here. She paved that way. So that's who we have sitting here.
And people sometimes say that I'm remiss, especially for the young ones, because a couple of young ones have come up and said, I've never been near someone like this. In November 1st, she celebrated her 96th birthday.
Oh, and y'all still sitting in your seat. She celebrated her what?
96.
And y'all still sitting in your seat. See, I told you y'all don't know who's among you. You have no idea. We have other 80 and 90-year-olds in here too. Maybe you see. When y'all do that in the Ghanaian community, you have to ask permission to do that. All right, we're going to move on right quick here. We want to make sure that you understand today. Welcome to Kwanzaa. We want to take a look at its beginning. Here is the founder of it in the beginning, and a lot of the people you see sitting here was part of us. The US organization, the beginning and the now stuff. This is the center. Y'all know where this is, right? Or was. It no longer exists. It was totally, I'll use this other word, demolished, torn down. This was the old center up on OSU campus known as the Hale Center. It no longer exists. It's flat land right now. This is at the installation of the new center, which is across the street, which has 3 or 4 companies in it. This is it here, right here. We want to move on and take a look at, this is about tradition and reason. In the European system, tradition and reason are supposed to fight each other. In our system, tradition and reason are supposed to embrace each other, that heart and that mind. We want to take a look at the Kwanzaa symbols later, but tonight we want to know that the mat and kega represents the earth, and it represents our future, of our relationship to Africa. That's why it's the Queen Mother in Ghana. The Kanara represents the people, the original people, and the candles, the Kikombe Chop Umoja, they represents the principles by which they live by. Umoja, Kujichagalio, Ujima, Ujima, and tonight, okay, So we're going to leave that right there. Right now we're going to go up to libation, light the candles for tonight, and then we proceed on. So thank you for your patience. We have Brother Greg Arnold and Mama Fadia. The past nights have been lit. Tonight, I'm going to light Kuji Chagalia in the name Ujma in the name a nation builder or warrior up here to hold the plant, please? Can I get a nation builder or a warrior up here to the stairs, please?
Ghani. We're about to participate in a ritual that helps us to remember, to honor, and invite our ancestors to come and be with us. Our ancestors are responsible for everything that we do. So I'd ask everybody to stand at this time. If you don't know already, the process is that we call out a name or names. You'll have a chance to do that also. And we pour the water into the plant. And the response is Ashe, which means it is done. Ashe.
Ashe.
We always want to start with our Creator, that creative spirit of energy that made it possible for everyone to be here today. So we pour for our Creator, we say,
Ashe.
Ashe. For those ancient ancestors back in Kemet who created mathematics, art, literature, everything, the pyramids, all of those things that we tend to forget. We don't never want to forget them. We want to say,
Ashe.
When we remember those who struggled when they were stolen from Kemet and all over the continent, and on that struggle on that ship, that Middle Passage, we want to remember those who started out that journey. Some made it and some didn't. So we always want to remember them. We say,
Ashe.
Some of those ancestors decided to make a conscious decision not to go further on that ship. They felt that it was better to die on their own hands than to be enslaved. So we always want to remember them, and they're at the bottom of the ocean. We say, Ashe. What about some of those ancestors that we all know from the 20th century? Those whose names we can call, like Fannie Lou Hamer, Malcolm X. What are some of the other names we can call?
George Washington Carver, Marcus Garvey.
Ashe. Ashe. Keep calling. Ashe.
John Coltrane.
Ashe. Ashe.
Booker T. Washington.
Ashe. Ashe. So now what about those personal ancestors, the ones that you could call on, like Big Mama? Don't make you smile when you call their name.
Ashe.
I call my grandmother Alice Arnold.
Miles Brown, Miss Ann, Robert the Texander Davis, Herman Brown Sr., Rosalie Timmons, William Walton, Mr. Fanny Gaston, Alvin, Uncle Chris, Aunt Bean, Cleveland, Cleveland Brown, Margaret Ellis, Posh Ellis, Cecil Ellis, Alvin Brown, Gina Gaines, Herman Brown, second. That's right.
Now for our children, we never want to forget our Watoto. So we pour for them. Ashe.
Ashe.
For the directions. North. Ashe. South.
Ashe.
East.
Ashe.
West.
Ashe.
For those who are in our hearts, but not out of our mouths, we say.
Ashe.
And that we want to make sure that we leave this earth better than the way that we found it. And on this night of Nia, that has to be part of our purpose. And we say Ashe,
Ashe.
Ashe,
Ashe.
and Ashe.
Ashe. Why you sit down? Babe, why y'all sit down?
This big cup is a community cup, so we're going to put the smaller cup inside. Being lit off of our unity candle.
Habari gani? Habari gani? Habari gani? Thank you. My name is Michael Kundev. I would like to welcome you to the Healing Arts Complex Kwanzaa celebration.
Habari gani? Come on now, people. Rainbow. So my name is Shelly I, and we are the MCs, Michael Allen Cundiff and myself, for the evening. So it is time for Sister Lyric to come and sing.
Yeah.
To lead us in the Black National Anthem.
Good evening, everyone. If everybody could please stand. Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmony of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound out as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of love that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of love that the dark past has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won.
Thank you, Larry. And give her another round of applause, please.
All right, brothers and sisters, now that we had a wonderful songstress lead us, we're going to go into our next segment. So the children can now go to the children's room. So I'd like to announce to the parents, you can now take your children to the children's room, to the Kwanzaa for Watoto celebration in the rooms for, it's on the other side of the bathrooms. Back that way, on the other side of the bathrooms. So if you can go ahead and take your children at this point in time to the Kwanzaa for Watoto celebration in the rooms on the other side of the bathrooms. Sister Lyric, thank you again. And we'd like to thank this event, which is presented by Tawi Family Village. I'd like to thank you for presenting this event. It's been wonderful. This isn't my first night being here, and it's just been such a wonderful, wonderful thing. The last several years, just such a wonderful treat for the community. I find that we have the unified force and just the collectivity and, you know, the cooperative works and an opportunity just to share time with each other. And so I'm really, really thankful. You all are really beautiful. You know, I'm looking at your faces and your clothing, and, you know, it's just some beautiful people. So thank you. Give yourselves a hand clap. Okay, so now what we'd like to do is introduce Elder Phyllis Ransom to present our 2019 honoree to promote supporting the vendor marketplace and food vendors. Thank you, Sister Phyllis.
Habari Gani.
Nia!
Habari Gani.
Nia!
Say it loud and proud. Gye-Nyame. Right.
Oh, okay.
Tonight we are presenting the Karamu Award, and it is going to Roots Gallery, which was founded by Sister Francisca Figueroa. Sister Fran was born in Youngstown, Ohio. She moved to Columbus, Ohio in 1976 to secure employment and a college degree. She is the proud mother of 4 beautiful children, 3 daughters and 1 son. She and her family have been active in the African American community for over 40 years. One of her many missions is to preserve, protect, and express our culture through the arts. With the support of family and friends and community, she was able to develop an art gallery with emphasis on African and African American art and artists. Her motto is, "There is no me if there were no we." So I have done absolutely nothing on my own. So I ask you to stand and welcome Sister Fran to come and sing. She's well known in the community.
Of course, I said I was not going to cry. Where's the tissue? Thank you much. I'm going to need it. But first and foremost, let me first give honor, gratitude, and thanks to the divine forces that are always present, surrounding us with courage, directing us when we are willing to listen, and helping us along the way. Also, I want to acknowledge the presence of our elders. Thank you, thank you, thank you. This award humbles me, strengthens me, and empowers me to stay grounded in my culture, in my healing, and in my purpose. I am indeed indebted to my biological mother and my biological father, who through their pain and suffering gave me the drive to seek the truth. I am indebted to my second set of parents, who through their experience gave me the courage to face the truth along with my fears. Thank you to my beautiful children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, whose eyes are constantly on and watching me. So you know how difficult it is to have them little moments of doing something I shouldn't be doing. Thank you to my family, extended families, close friends, my clients, my neighbors, village children, and my pets, who keep me surrounded with lots of love and lots of hugs. Thank you for the many villages I've encountered on this journey that have solidified my foundation and supported me along the way. It would take me all night to mention each individual name, so please forgive me, because your name is important, but your spirit is most important. I have purposely chose not to mention names. But I will say, I want to thank the many villages where all your names are listed. Westlake Projects, where I grew up in Youngstown, Ohio. Afrocentric Personal Development, who knows about them in the house? Tawi, SOS, Columbus Fire Department, for challenging the core of my soul. The Eastside YMCA, Columbus Afrocentric Early College, Columbus City Schools, Black Art Plus, William Thomas Gallery, Tony West and the Imani Dancers, Chusant, and of course, the one thing that you guys did really help establish is Roots Gallery. Of course, the list goes on, and it is endless, just as your names. I want to thank you and thank those who beat me up to make me stronger, who lifted me up to keep me encouraged, who let me go so that I can grow. You are all the wind beneath my wings. I end by saying, especially for the young folks, whatever your dreams and ambitions, whatever they are, let them be to improve humanity, not to destroy it. To encourage others to be strong, which will make you stronger, and to know that there is absolutely nothing we have done or can do on our own. We have the power to make this world a better place. Let's continue to work together and enjoy the journey and this present journey called life. Ashe, happy Kwanzaa.
Thank you again, Francisca, for all you've done for the community and all you're going to continue to do in the future. I'd like to thank everyone here for participating in these citywide Kwanzaa celebrations 2019. Habari gani? Habari gani? Habari gani? Ashe.
So I'd like to say, may I please have permission to speak? That is so unlike me, and so I humble myself right now, and thank you so very much. Habari gani? Habari gani? Habari gani? All right, Ashe. Okay, so we are going to introduce the community education presentation led by Elder Richard Lundy. Kwanzaa and Nguguzu Saba in 2020, a community discussion and commitment to our greatness.
Habari gani? Habari gani? Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm an elder, and I can remember the times when I would hear people say, we need to get the permission from my elders. Now it's kind of like I had to ask myself. But I would like to ask my elders if I have permission to speak. Thank you. I'd like to ask my panel to come up and join me. Okay. This is a wonderful event. I had to share this with the young people in this auditorium. This auditorium is a special place for me because when I was in the sixth grade, this used to be my classroom. This was Garfield Elementary School. And I always sit by that pool back there because I was always getting in trouble. Tonight we're going to talk about the Kwanzaa celebration. We're going to talk about the Nguzo Saba. I know for a fact that I exposed my family to the Nguzo Saba and Kwanzaa back in 1992. Whoa. And I can tell you it wasn't easy. I mean, there was a lot of resistance, and I still hear and see that today. I think Kwanzaa is one of the best celebrations that we have, and I think that we should practice it every year, practice it every day, really, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. So I want to get to the business of what we're going to be doing. Bear with me because I slipped and fell in Kroger's the other day, and my back is killing me. You know, I'm going to plow right on through this. What I'd like to do is first is to have my panelists introduce themselves before we go any further.
We better have a mic up there. Wait a minute, I think this one here. No, they
Check. Yes, sir, young man.
Okay, Brother Fred Cox, greetings. Teacher, educator of 30 years, taught in adult prisons, juvenile prisons, charter schools, and Columbus City schools.
Hello, I'm Shyla Iris. I grew up in Cleveland. I've been living here in Columbus for 3 years. I studied political science at a historically black college and university by the name of Fisk University in Nashville, Tennessee. I also studied digital media communications at Regent University, which is a Christian university in Virginia Beach. If you are familiar with the 700 Club, it's where the 700 Club with Pat Robertson. He's the president of that university, and while at Regent, I discovered a lot about religion and spirituality. And that's pretty much it. I came up in the 80s and 90s, really blessed to have been growing and born during that time. And so I know a little bit about community. I remember being born into a community where we all knew each other. Like, this unity thing was really big, and so I feel really blessed. But then drugs, the crack epidemic hit my community, and it tore our whole community apart. And during that, my mom and my father, they kept us grounded in these African principles to help get us through that. But I just remember that being a very profound thing. But that's just a little bit about me. I'm going to pass it on to Elder.
I am Barbara Wright. I will tell you a little bit about myself. I am the 13th child of 18. Same parent. Grew up in Hanford Village. The village was made for the Tuskegee Airmen. When the black men came, they had no place to live. So they made that place specifically for them. I am a graduate of Wilberforce University. And our young students need to study why Wilberforce was made. And I also graduated from the University of Dayton with my master's in human development. I'm also an elder with Tyree. I really appreciate that.
introducing ourselves?
Okay. All right. My name is Marshall Shores. I kind of got thrown in the fire here, but in the true spirit of Kwanzaa. Thank you, Jill. I am a designer, entrepreneur, father, community organizer, amongst many other things. I'm originally born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio, but I've been in Columbus since 2001. Much of that time has been spent in this neighborhood. Currently live in this neighborhood and community and work and play, and I'll keep it short.
Thank you, guest. Nice to see you, meet you finally. Here's how we're going to do this. I'm going to share a few comments, and after I share the comments, there's going to be some questions that I will ask the panel. And after the panel has an opportunity to answer those questions, we're going to open it up and have the audience, if they have any questions about the questions. If you have any questions about the questions. So that's kind of how we're going to go. I'll just have to take a few minutes to make some remarks. I've had the honor of being asked to facilitate this discussion by my great friend and colleague, Jill West. And everybody knows what that means. She's encouraging. But we're going to have a discussion this evening about the importance of Kwanzaa and the Nguzo Saba, and to share our thoughts on why we think it's important. A number of folks, as I mentioned before, have been exposed to Kwanzaa since its inception, but there are still a lot of people that don't know a whole lot about it because they don't take the time to do their homework and do some research to look into it and see what it's really all about. I think that for me, this night is the fifth night of Kwanzaa, and the fifth night of Kwanzaa is the night, the principle for the night is Nia, as we talked about and we've heard people talk about earlier. And the fifth principle is Nia, which I guess if you look in your program bulletin, the meaning of that is, what that means is that we as African people to make our collective vocation the building and development of our community in order to restore our people to their traditional greatness. And that's a tall order. And I think, again, we take those things very lightly. I take them very seriously, and I think that that's the message that I would like for us to get out there. We come from greatness, and we need to begin to act like it and own it. This means when we talk about the Kwanzaa celebration being part of our traditional greatness, it's a legacy that we have been left from Mother Africa. It has given the world this legacy, which means that we are in fact fathers and mothers of human civilization and humanity. I've told people many times that our greatest challenge now for young people out there that are listening, our greatest challenge as African people is to restore humanity to the world. And that's a heavy, heavy burden, because we can see what's going on today in our society, that there's not a whole lot of humanity going on. So that's our challenge. So we have to restore it. I know we've often wondered about how we got in a situation in this country, and it's because we fell from grace. And so I think that in Dr. Malana Karinga's efforts to create Kwanzaa, was something to try to bring us together. If we did this once a year and people started to practice those principles, we can get back on track. Our ancestors were the first to introduce the basic disciplines of human knowledge in the Nile Valley, which the Greeks called Egypt. In layman's terms, it means that to encourage us to look within ourselves, to set personal goals that are beneficial to our community. So that sounds a little bit like the New Year's resolutions. So this is a good night for us to be talking about that. That's tomorrow evening. Keep this in mind as the discussion unfolds, that, the personal goals that you set for yourself, that's going to benefit your community. I heard somebody mention earlier, we don't, have community anymore. We don't have the same kinds of protections that we have. I was in the grocery store one day, a couple of weeks ago, and I heard a youngster, she was about 15 years old, and she was talking to a couple of elders, and she was almost in tears, and she was crying, and saying that, you know, she felt that a lot of adults and older people didn't realize how afraid a lot of our children are. You know, they're fearing for their lives. You know, we see people getting shot. We see young girls getting tossed to the floor in schools. Every time our children leave the homes, they're afraid. And we have to deal with that. It's time for us to take that on. We just saw the last couple of days, we just saw the problems in New York and the problems in Texas. It wasn't 24 hours later, you had the governor of New York on television talking about that issue. Well, what about the crises in our community? That every day a black person gets killed, and it's almost like an old hat. You know, oh well, somebody, and it's more brutal and more vicious. So, you know, I think that as we end this year in the spirit of Kwanzaa, that we take that into consideration. And next year we talk about doing something about it, because I get tired of seeing our youngsters get slaughtered. One of our objectives is to provide information and to hopefully answer questions that will encourage you to embrace each one of the 7 principles of Kwanzaa and put them into practice. That we want to first ask and talk about is Kwanzaa relevant today? You know, I look at the audience. I got exposed to Kwanzaa in Oakland, California. And I remember going to the first Kwanzaa. It was an auditorium full of people from all over the Bay Area, and they had a whole big program for the young people. All the young people got up and they were able to do whatever it was that they did. They were able to do that because Kwanzaa, regardless of what people think, Kwanzaa is really for young people. You know, for them to learn and grow. You know, we're assuming again that older people already know that. We can all agree that here in the United States we're facing some very hard times. Our democracy is going to be held in a handbasket. The commander-in-chief, that guy that sits in the White House, is gone totally rogue, and more people are being forced into poverty because of the administration's policies and their attack on social services, health care, food stamps. You can just go on through the list. I mean, this guy is doing so much damage that it's going to take 50 years for us to pile out of that. So there's going to be some pretty tough times. The president and his alt-right guys are boasting about we're enjoying the best economy in modern history. Now, we all know that the President of the United States is the #1 liar in the world. He has that record. We should have T-shirts with the #1 liar in the world. You know what I'm saying? This guy, 14,000 lies in 3 years and counting. You know, so how do you trust anything that man says? So, let me finish. Joe was trying to give me a signal if you have to talk louder. Pardon?
You got your panel. Use the panel.
Use the panel. Well, again, my instructions were when I first agreed to take this, I would have a few minutes to do an introduction. So now, I guess I can shift that. I'm flexible. I don't have a problem with that. There were 4 questions that we want to ask. First of all, the question is Kwanzaa still relevant today? So, Elder Wright, you have the mic.
Since I'm the elder, I will speak first. I think that Kwanzaa and Nguzo Saba is relevant. Sometimes we don't realize that we use those 7 principles every day. Since most of us do not know the 7 principles, it behooves you to learn them because actually you do use them every day. So it is relevant in your everyday life. For you, your family, your children, your grandchildren, even your next door neighbor. So, I'm going to pass the mic.
Stop trying to be on camera.
Thank you, Elder. Yes, Kwanzaa is relevant, not only for our elders, but also more so even for our young ones these days. They need the exposure of the principles so that they can not only be exposed to them, but practice them, so that we can continue building the village and the family through the practices and our cultural practices. It's been relevant. There's never a day on this earth that I spent 54 years on where Kwanzaa and Gubasaba was not relevant. It will continue to be relevant until all African community leagues are free of the diaspora that we are experiencing right now.
This almost isn't a question, to me, because Kwanzaa will always be relevant, especially for as long as there is European and Arab control over your everyday lives. As long as you don't have control over the school systems that your children go to, as long as you can't grow your own food, for as long as you don't own any of the institutions that run your everyday life, Kwanzaa will always be relevant. And Kwanzaa, the purpose of Kwanzaa is for us to, at the end of each year, it is meant to be a system of checks and balances. It is for you to look at your individual self and examine yourself before you even examine other people. Even before you examine the community, examine your individual self. Are you balanced? What are you happy? What is it that you are doing to contribute to the whole? But you have to be happy. You have to be balanced, and you will have to find a spiritual system to help you maintain that balance. And we'll talk about that a little later, what that spiritual system is, but it will always be relevant.
Thank you, sister.
I think it's relevant to people. It's relevant too. I think the principles are relevant and will remain relevant, but I think relevance is relative to who you're talking to. I think for a number of people in our community, it's very relevant. I think there is a larger number of people in our community who it is not as relevant to anymore, or who it may have never been relevant to. And I think that is the challenge that we have as a community, to not only make the tradition of Kwanzaa as we practice it with gathering here today relevant, but the principles beyond these gatherings in our broader community. And we have to make that relevant. You mentioned this Kwanzaa is for young people, but are young people planning Kwanzaa? Is any of this content relevant for young people? Are they a part of it? Is it of, by, and for them as well? And I think that's a question we have to ask. I think Kwanzaa, yes, as principally, is relevant. Symbolically, is relevant. But how we practice it is the question of relevance I think we have to grapple with today. And I'll stop there.
Thank you, Gary. Okay, we're gonna, the next three questions are gonna be about specific things, and I want you to keep in mind the principles and how the principles impact this. How can we use the Nguzo Saba in our community in regarding education?
Within the 7 principles, I wanted to focus on Kuji Chakalia, self-determination, and Nia. I'm a substitute teacher, and most of my students are from different parts of the continent. And so I see how sometimes, since their teachers are Caucasians or the school is ran by people from Turkey, how they downplay their self-esteem. So I always tell them that on the walls of the tombs and the temples, there was a saying that says, know thyself. So I suggest to the students at all times to first of all, know thyself, and don't let anyone deter them from themselves. They came from greatness. And I also remind them that anything that anybody is doing today, that their ancestors built it. Even to right now with their Flex watches, their Chromebooks, whatever, all that material came from the motherland. So I always try to encourage them that, and I also tell them that their life has a purpose, and they have to find out what that purpose is. So, and their self-worth is part of their self-determination. Their self-worth is part of their purpose in life. And so while I'm here, I really want to thank and give a compliment to Brother Hatim and to Brother Taiwan with their education in the Millennium School. Although I don't work there, I know some of the tremendous things they do with the education system with those young boys and girls. Just yesterday, if you didn't come, you missed it. We had their drum line. They were magnificent. So if you missed it, you missed a nice display of what our young males are doing at the Millennium School. So I'm going to pass the mic. Who wants to be next?
Same question. You know, how do we use the Gye-Nyame in our community regarding education?
I agree with Elder Barbara. Education, I agree with her when she said have knowledge of self, and that was written above a lot of the pyramids in both Nubia and in the land we now call Egypt, which was Kemet. Knowledge of self is in it. When you have that knowledge of self, let me think about this a little more. When you have that knowledge, I think first you have to have that knowledge of self in order to even receive information like education or where your ancestors come from. Knowledge of self, that all of that is knowledge of self wrapped up in one. So before we can go into the education system, like even the government or any of these systems that have been set up to rule our lives, you have to know who you are, you have to know where your people came from, and you have to know what it is they practice in that land, because they were doing wonderful things in that land. Do you ever wonder what spiritual systems they used to navigate, to learn, to build? What were those spiritual systems? So the education starts with the knowledge of yourself, knowledge of who you are, where you come from, who your people are, what was happening in that land to bring us, fast forward us into America 2019.
Hold up. What we want to do now is, ask someone from the audience if they have a question regarding the Kwanzaa celebration in the Gye-Nyame and how it impacts us in education. Is there a question?
Does somebody in the community want to talk about the Gye-Nyame in relationship to education?
Don't be scared. Come on, we all family. We're all the community.
It's very important.
Well, while we wait, now go ahead and fill the silent space.
Thank you.
So the question is
how do we use Kwanzaa and the Gye-Nyame
the seven principles
in education?
In education,
I'm talking about trying to make it practical.
I think you answered it. I think we have to make it practical. I think that's the answer. I think it's a question of relevance. I think if we rely on educational systems to teach the principles, which are really surrounded around cultural tradition, community tradition, and things you would learn from your mother, your grandmother, your uncles, your aunties, and people down the street. We have to kind of look at other ways of kind of infusing education around these principles, and not in just a symbolic way, but in a more contemporary way. I think we as a community, myself included, are ignorant to a lot of the history surrounding the continent, surrounding even our stories here on this continent. And I think in order for this to stick, we have to figure out a way to make it tie into what the culture today. If we just stay in Egypt and Kemet, and we don't talk about how big of a continent Africa is and everything that happened all around the continent and how that relates to us today, then we have failed our people, in my opinion. And I think we have to, I'm sorry, Auntie Julie. Okay, I'm sorry. All right, that's what I was trying to do, because I wanted to be the dissenting voice on the panel.
Which part you ready to get with you? Oh, you want to be like this? We're being too abstract. We're being too esoteric and up and north.
because you all have very specific experience that we should be learning from. So you up here, Marsha's going on and on, but how many of you know what the Maroon Arts Group is? Right? I mean, that's what you should be talking about. When we're talking about inclusive celebrate and practice, that's Kumba, that's Dia, that's Kuchikanalia, that's all of them. We should be talking very specifically. But Fred sits up here, I mean, I'm annoyed. So please, be concrete. All this abstract, we don't need that.
Okay, so I will apply that, and I hear. So, having taught in adult corrections, juvenile corrections, charter schools, and public schools. Okay, what in the last 30 years that I've taught, what I have recognized is the systems, the Euro systems are 1, 2, 3 ABC. Okay, they are 1, 2, 3 ABC. OGT. In the course exams, one to know your math, and 1, 2, 3 ABC. The system that we were born in is knowing thyself, and then utilizing your knowledge of self and make that become a will. Marcus Garvey quoted saying, "Rise up, you mighty race. You can become what you will." Okay, whatever that will is, what you will do or what you won't do. And then whatever that will is whatever you find within you. To be a carpenter, to be a scientist, to be a doctor, to be a lawyer, to be a craftsman, to be whatever that will is, you find it and you will yourself into that destiny. So how can we use those principles within the wills? Because the principles speak about once you find yourself and once you find a will, then you're out within an individual approach and then a community approach. Continue to build the community, and your individual will, time, gifts, and talents become a greater part of the 7 principles and the building the community. Marcus Garvey created a Black Star Line, and that Black Star Line was a group of individuals with time, gifts, and talents that they brought into entrepreneurial skills. So now, if we can find a system that actually teaches knowing thyself, and then becoming what thy will is, we will find a lot of young men and women sitting there in their classrooms really, really learning. But our system now is faulty. It's a 1, 2, 3 ABC system that doesn't work with our cultural way of learning. Yes. Hatim, Brother Hatim.
Does anybody else have to?
All right, knowing that the system as it's set up does not work for us, what can we do right now to incorporate these principles into the education system so that our children can start learning them and applying them? Because we can talk about the system all night, but how, or what are some of the ways that the panel can suggest that we start smuggling in our secrets into these schools and start engaging our young people?
Anybody?
I think that a lot of us in this room, we're here for a reason. And we are here because we study African history. We study such things as what Hatim just mentioned, systems. But the majority of us are not familiar with how these systems work. And so until more of us are educated on what the system is, we might be in this condition for a longer time. But just because you see all of you today, you might have a comprehension of what it is. I've been out in the world, and the majority of people in the world do not understand what an American government is, what capitalism is, what the education system is. They don't really know. They don't have knowledge of this. And so that's where we have to start, educating on what exactly a system is and how that is changing your life and controlling your life every day. I think the education is the biggest part of it.
Most of us are here for a reason. So we know what our education system is doing to our children. We know they're dumbing them down. We need to have more schools like the Millennium. We also have to understand and convince parents that it's okay if they go to an all-black school. They don't have a problem with white kids going to an all-white school. There's no problem. They don't have a problem at all. They don't have a problem with, you will not go to Bexley if you don't live in Bexley. But you can go all around the city of Columbus and go to a charter school and a Columbus City School that are not doing you any justice. You will not go to Upper Arlington if you don't live in Upper Arlington. But we seem not to have a problem with that as a whole. But if we say we're getting ready to open up a black school for black students only, a lot of parents are going to go crazy. Why? You always want to include the Caucasian in everything you do, and those are the ones that are bringing your children down. We have to understand that. We have to understand that. We do need more black schools. And I will say this, I know for a fact the Jewish community, out of their school, the kids come to another school through the week to learn about their religion. How come we can't come and learn about spirituality? How come we can't come to another day and learn about all the things that our ancestors have built that we use every day? Every day. Most of our students know nothing about anything that goes on. I told some students, who do you think designed Washington, D.C.? They had no clue. They had no clue at all. So you have to tell them. I had one time, and I'm going to be brief, I don't know anything about algebra, and I admit that I teach algebra class, and I tell them that the pyramid, that triangle is the pyramid. Understand that. That's part of the system. However, what I asked them to do was, I told them, I said, I'll take full responsibility. I had to look around the room to see who was there. First of all, I told them I want everyone, go on there and find a black mathematician. They were shocked when they found out how many black mathematicians there are in the world. The Muslim girls went, oh my God, they're Muslims. They're black. What do you think? But we do need more black people to understand that we do need separation to teach our children, or we're going to be going down the rabbit hole.
All right, Auntie Julie gave me permission. How many of y'all have a library card? All right, how many of you know you can rent a room at the library for free? How many of you organize your own learning community? How often are you doing that?
Bi-monthly.
Okay, the hands went down the more I asked questions. We're not going to get rid of the system today, next year. We know it exists. It has always existed since we've been here. How many of you know how to balance a checkbook? Start a class on how to balance a checkbook. If you don't know algebra, start a class and teach you how to balance a checkbook, how to save money, how to use a profit first model. How many of you know about history of one thing, right? It doesn't have to be about African history. Maybe you know history of art or black artists. Start a class about black artists, create a curriculum about it, and then host it at the library for free. How many of y'all got email? How many of y'all got somebody else's email? Put them on the email list, create a description about that class you're going to start, and send an email to those people that you know and see who's going to sign up and come to that class. Organize the learning and the education where you are. You don't have to be a historian, a mathematician. You can know about how this neighborhood came together. Start a class around that, right? Start a nonprofit. Again, utilize, how many of y'all got a phone? Y'all know people making millions and billions on their phone, right? How many elders in here have a phone but don't know how to utilize it and leverage it? Somebody can start a class for elders and youth on how to use apps and develop apps. If we start where we are in our community, I'm a design, I'm a professor, right? And the first lesson in designing an app is asking the question, what problem are we trying to solve? Not the biggest problem, the problem that is right in front of you. Right? So that's a question for youth in your neighborhood to say, how can we develop ideas around creating an app that will diminish or bring violence down in our own community where we are to start? And that's how we start to implement these principles around education and educate ourselves. We cannot and we will not, and for a long time will not be able to depend on a system, any system that is not created for us and by us and with us in mind to do that for us. So we have to use self-determination and not think that it has to take a lot of money, time, and resources to develop and start to build these models in our school. And that's how we do it. That's how we get Sunday school. My parents are pastors in the Kojic church. I grew up going to Sunday school. Sunday school was originally school to teach people how to read. And they used the Bible as text to teach people how to read and count and do all of those things. So if we start to get back to the problems right in front of us, right in your community, right on your street, right in your house, then I think we can start to build outwardly. But we're trying to talk about and tackle problems that are so massive that not one individual in this room on their own and even collectively in this room can solve right away. So we need to start to build these funnels and channels right where we are and begin to solve these design problems right where we are. Is that good? Thank you.
Thank you. One other thing I think that we could do is we could just have the principles of Nguzo Saba posted in our homes so our children can see them every day. That's very simple to me. Next question, panel, is, excuse me.
Thank you, Elder. One of my mentors. When I sit up and look at the panel, what? You can't hear me at all? Okay. You can hear me now? Yeah. Okay, so what I'm saying is that there's 42 principles that they talk about working. When we came through this system, when he's talked about when he went to this school, there were black teachers. You understand? In our community, we had black teachers, we seen black doctors, we seen everything in our community. When we have a problem, as soon as we make it, we move out of the community. You understand what I'm saying? We don't do that. I like what you're saying, but everything is, we have to understand how this can transform your life. Now, I am a person that the metanoia has changed. Totally. I went to Vietnam, didn't even know how to read. My grandmother taught school right here. You understand what I'm saying? My goal was to take on what the society had dealt me. But once I found out about what we practice up here, the Nguzo Saba, I got my high school education at 64 years old. I turned 65 right after that. I want to be a substance abuse trainer. See, this is what, when we talk about going out and dealing with people, ain't nobody going in them. I don't see you, when you go in the penitentiary, you got to teach their curriculum. And that's a white pepperwood curriculum. And that it made, designed for them to come back in here. But what if, this is how I felt, Rob, what if they would have told me the stuff that I know now when I was 15? What if I could have got that instead of the spike in my arm at 14? I'm a recovering addict, and I take pride in that, and I want to go back out because we don't deal with the self-hatred that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. We can put on all these dashikis and all this, and that's real nice. But if you ain't living these principles, you can't walk in no barbershop where they say, oh, hey, OG, tell me about this, or drop a hidden colors on somebody. This is work. It ain't what we can't do. We need everybody, and everybody has a part. So the part that you're playing, you have to keep doing it. I don't want to hear about it. That's Ann. Look, I've been knowing her since I was a kid. My cousin came up underneath the beaming. You understand? He was a disc jockey. If it wasn't for her, wouldn't be a lot of it. So we got an elder sitting in here. It's a bunch of other people in here. Friend used to out bench press me, but nevertheless, that YMCA, she'll tell you when I walk in there, I talk black. You understand what I'm saying? When your parents are teaching about Sunday school, the Sunday school was about us to learn, but they didn't tell us that we was from the beginning to the end. They didn't tell us that we was. So they put that white stuff in our head that where we think we gotta have them around. Man, the black man and the black woman is the black woman, let me put her first. Is the most powerful thing on this earth.
To piggyback, we don't live in the same neighborhoods, but we got text messages, we got Facebook, we got Twitter. So we have to leverage the tools we have in our hands to make sure that we keep community close. It doesn't necessarily have to be tied to geography. I mean, I can talk to people in Africa right now on WhatsApp. And so we have to expand our idea of what, place is and how we can start to leverage these tools. That's just all I wanted to add to that. Because you're right, we did lead the communities. A lot of us have.
But you go to Africa, they already colonialized more so than we are.
Absolutely. And they all in the same place. So, yeah.
So just to add to where can we get started, Tyree does have 2
history classes. We have a beginning history class and we have an advanced history class that doesn't cost anything but your time. So if you're really interested in learning more about your culture, learning more about the Nguzo Saba, Ma'at, you can come to the classes on Friday at APTS at 6 o'clock. There are 2 classes. That would be the beginning class. And if you've been studying on your own, there's a more advanced class. Thank you.
Following Elder Phyllis, I also want to say, in terms of language, I have done classes, and we did one here today with our little kids for them to understand that there are languages out here other than European languages, Spanish, French, English, but there's Kiswahili. We did a Kiswahili session today here. We have other places that we do Kiswahili sessions to learn about our language. The other thing, our most ancient language. There are about 4 of us in the community that have been studying it for over 10 years. We have online classes with the languages on Tuesday nights and Thursdays. There are places, probably what we are doing, not probably, what we are not doing is letting enough people be aware of the Friday night classes, the language classes we're doing. We have a speaker that's coming up that's training in the ancient language in February. We have another speaker that's going to be here that trains in the ancient language. You can tell language is my thing. In August. The other thing we can do is commit to tutoring. I tutor math and reading. Brother Kwame tutors math. That's another way of getting to our children the ability to do math from our perspective as opposed to the ABC 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Elder Lundy, may I say something?
Yes, you can.
Okay. When Elder Lonnie was talking about the language and learning different languages, where I work.
Batteries might be going dead. She is on.
I work with mostly African students. And sometimes those teachers deter them from speaking their own language. I get so upset. I get upset. But I found out one thing. They can speak it, but they cannot write it. Then I think about us. Our children can speak English, but they can't write it, not very well. So I'm trying to encourage them, but then I found out from an elder that we were passed, our history was passed on. It was storytelling. That's how we learned so many things. Even us today, our ancestors, our grandmothers, our grandfathers taught us how to cook. But they say a pinch of this and a pinch of that. It was never written down. So I cannot fault them. But what I tell them all the time is, I do not want them to lose their language. They can speak it, but they can't write it. But just think about our children. They can speak this so-called English, but some of them can only print it. Most of them cannot write cursive. I hear a lot of my friends say, oh, my child can write cursive. Well, ask them to write a complete sentence. Ask them to write their first name, middle name, and last name. You'll see that your child cannot write cursive. So our kids are losing their language as well. So that's all I wanted to say about the language piece.
Thank you very much. Again, time is going by, and the questions that we have, I want to ask one last question. And that is, how do we use the Nguzo Saba and the principles in regards to economics in our community?
I spoke on entrepreneurship, and I found as a career educator that as a part of financial management, financial literacy, the entrepreneurship has to do with waking a person up into their interest or their vision, having them write it, make it plain, and then have them act out the mission and estate agents. So that turns into an economical situation. If a young kid finds out that they can be a CEO of their own business, be it writing, be it math, be it science, be it engineering, at this point we need to awaken or Montessori our young papooses into the arenas of entrepreneurship, so that by the time that they become a freshman in high school, they will have concepts of financial management, even investment or business investment within themselves in order to have their business and their business partners grow. I believe that is necessary. Okay.
Last night, there was an outstanding panel here. So if you were not here, you missed it. And they spoke on cooperative economics and businesses within our community. So if you were not here last night, you missed a tremendous panel speaking. And the panel was led by Brother Marcus Muhammad. I saw him earlier. I don't know if he's still here. But Mr. John Gregory, founder of the Urban Scholars Academy, and he always has the male wellness walk, he spoke. He also has a book out, and I think it's called 8 Lessons He Learned from Oprah Winfrey. So we also have Sister Sandra Moody Gresham. She has DHAM Insurance Company. So if you're in need of insurance, that's who you contact. We also have Minister Donnell Mohammed, one of my favorite guys. He runs Avis Car Rental. So if any young people, or if you need a car you want to rent, he's out there in Stonehenge and Gahanna. Look him up. He'll set you up. So we also had a young lady. Her name was Brandy Jackson. She's a young entrepreneur. She's, I think her place is up on Minnesota, and I'm awfully sorry I did not get the name of her place, but these are obviously young people that you should tap into. And of course, last night we gave our Ujima Award to Sister, I always mispronounce her name. Inja. And she has an insurance company called Gory Insurance. That is an outstanding young lady. She's moved her place up to Easton now. So if you're in need of insurance, we have people within our community that can do that. They will help you start sometime your own business. And last but not least, like I shared before, I call the students my students. When I see students come in with $500 tennis shoes, I get very upset. First thing I tell them, they ain't gonna jump no higher and run no faster if they had on $200 tennis shoes. Most of them do not know that they can invest their money right now while they are in school into a business. By the time they graduate, they'll have their college fund already paid for. We have to encourage our children. I don't care if they're in kindergarten. Take them, if you give them I never knew what an allowance was when I grew up. My kids didn't have allowance either. But those parents that give their children allowance, if they make $1, make them put 50 cents in the bank. Take them to the bank every week and make them deposit their own money. Give them a checkbook. Let them go up to the counter and say who they are. They want to deposit their 50 cents. When my dad died, we saw his bank account. Some weeks he had $5. Some weeks he had $1. Mind you, 18 of us, we all, when my father died, we all got $4,000 apiece. Because he put a nickel one day, $1 the next time, $5 the next time. So encourage our young children to do that now. I did it with mine, although they fell to the wayside, but I did it with mine. So we need to have this corporate economics within our community.
Yes, please, give it up. Economics. Sorry, y'all, it's been a long day. I currently run a business, the branding and marketing business. And I work with small business, civic associations, nonprofits, corporate organizations. And the learning curve for me was money, and I'm not talking about, $5 here, $10 there, even $100 or $500. I'm talking about big money. And understanding how to price yourself, understanding the market. If you want to start a business and be successful, you need to understand what marketplace is. You need to understand how to price you for that market. And I think there's a lack of education, myself included, and I'm still learning a lot of those things, but I think we as a community have to understand marketplace to really understand how ecosystem around business works. For me, as a business-to-business entrepreneur, my clients and customers are other businesses. If those businesses are struggling to survive day to day, they can't pay me market rate to do services for them, or I'm surviving day to day, or not in business anymore. So I think there has to be an awareness campaign or education campaign about how money works first, how money in business then works, marketplace, and then how to grow that. I have a mentor that said if you put steel and rubber or metal and rubber in the rain, that rain is going to affect that metal and rubber differently. It's going to speed up certain things that rust that metal a lot faster than that rubber. It's still changing the rubber. So we have to understand that we can't necessarily look at the Jewish community or the white community or the Arab community to solve our problems. We have to go insular and figure out how do we learn money, business tactics, so that we can grow more sustainable businesses. And that might look a little different for us. And so if we figure that part out, I think we will be on our way. And there are examples in Columbus of people thriving in business. We need more. We need more. We need quantity. But we can look at some places like Atlanta, where there was public and private partnerships that created cash flow into communities and into businesses, so that we can advocate for ourselves, so that we can finance our businesses, so that we can build capital for our businesses, so that we can then fund our education, fund, scholarships, fund institutions like this to sustain ourselves more. But we have to start with understanding how marketplace works, how business actually works. And that's not to downplay hand-to-hand economy. That's also important. But if you're a volume-based business, then you need a lot of people to be patronizing that business in order for that business to sustain itself. If you're project-based or client-based, then that comes at a higher rate. So I won't get into that. Should have been here last night. But I think, I can talk about this all day. So if anybody wants to have an off-site conversation about that, I think it's something that I'm very passionate about. I'm working to develop some things and then work together, start businesses together, identify a problem and create a business around that. Because if it's a problem and people need it, then people are going to buy it and pay for it and probably pay a premium for it. And so if you understand that is the economics of business, if don't nobody want the thing that you're selling, then you're not going to sustain your business. That's just the reality. I don't care if it's black owned or whatever. Like, you have to have something that people are willing to pay for and support those businesses. So if you want to know how to replicate what Maroon Arts Group did with the shipping containers and how we built that, it wasn't anybody alone. It took a lot of work and a lot of time. But we need that in Linden, we need it in Gahanna, we need it, everywhere. And so we have to start to figure out how to work together, invest together. You don't have to like me to be in business with me.
That's right. That's right.
We gotta like each other and stop acting like black folk all like each other, but we can still do business with each other. All right. So.
Yes. Thank you, brother. Yes, sir.
Question.
Talk up.
Question. I go.
I'm made.
Y'all ain't gonna be able to hear the question if you're talking.
Use the other mic.
Do you guys believe that
one thing that the European took from us is gave us, I'm actually the question in a minute. One thing that the European took from us is gave us the spending with them habit, okay? And we haven't broke ourselves out of that habit yet. So the question to you guys is this, that do you believe that when you go shopping with black entrepreneurs, you got some back there, by the way.
What's back there? What's back there?
Vendors are back there.
Oh, the vendors are back there.
Yes, the vendors are back there. But here's the question. Do you believe that it would be productive if black people will take their black children with them when they go spend their black dollars with black businesses? Because I think that's very important. Because what our children see, they repeat. If they don't see you doing it, when they get older, they're not going to do it. Could you elaborate on that, please?
I'll start since I got the mic. We need more black businesses, first and foremost. There are not enough businesses to sustain the need in our community. If I want to spend my black dollar at multiple, if I want to go buy underwear, my basic need on this level, where can I go to get that? If I want to buy a t-shirt, I can go online and buy some t-shirts, but if I want stuff that just my day-to-day, we don't have enough of these types of businesses in and around our community. You know what I mean? And so first and foremost, we need more businesses. I know sneakers cost a lot of money, right? But if you're gonna buy sneakers, go to Soul Classics. His business is on High Street. It's owned by a black guy named Deontay Johnson, right? And he sells expensive sneakers. He also gives a lot of money back to the schools and through some of his programs and nonprofits. So I think, yes, we should be taking our children with us and showing them where these businesses are and spending black dollars, but we also need more businesses started and we need more businesses sustaining themselves so they aren't out of business in a year or 2 or 5.
Excuse me,
Also,
Elder. Excuse me, Elder. This young lady waiting to speak.
I give thanks, peace, and blessings to all. Gratitude, appreciation, really. I call myself a time traveler. I'm from Canton and Columbus, but I've been going to Atlanta, New York, and DC, and a lot of places. Anyways, what I want to say is, this is my first Kwanzaa in Columbus, and I really appreciate it. During my travels last year, I'm in alignment with a lot of brothers and sisters that's out there on their entrepreneurship, and I just want to share a few of them, if y'all don't mind, because it is about economics that they share. The first thing is, it's this brother, he goes by the name of Derek Grace. He has an in-home banking game. What you see is his children. He has 5 children, but at the time, he had 4. This brother's game is the game. It kind of looks like Monopoly to you. It's the black Monopoly though. Hasbro tried to buy him out for $1 million. He said, no, this is our family legacy. I wanted to keep it with my people. I give thanks to that. There's another brother, go by the name of Billionaire PA. He has a book called 7 Steps to Develop a Wealthy Mindset. Again, he's a motivational speaker and he travels around the world. And even with the first brother, he travels around the world too as a motivational speaker. And he has his own curriculum. These guys have their own curriculum. So for my need, for my purpose, I feel like with these travels, I have to continue to come out to the community events like this and just share as much as possible. Because this is what I do on a daily basis. I always support manifesting everybody's abundance and just share as much as I can. So I think that's one way, like you said. Peace and blessings.
Thank you very much. We have one more question, and we're going to conclude. And the question is to the panel is, how do we use the inclusive sovereignty in our community with respect to politics?
Okay. I'm not happy with our political scene right now on the national level. And I don't think no one here is satisfied. But I personally feel that for me, I should focus on the local level. So, and what I'm saying is, who on city council have us at heart? Who on city council is thinking about us and our community and what's happening to our community? Who on the Columbus School Board think about our children?
None.
And what's happening to our children?
None.
We do have some black folks on city council.
That don't make no difference.
On the school board, but are they thinking about us? And what's happening in our school system? So, this is what I wrote. So my thinking is, most of them are there for a monetary gain. They get paid. They get paid pretty nice. I didn't know that until I started working with Loretta Hurd back before she passed. So most of them are there for a stepping stone into other politics arena or the government. I am I'm a commissioner in the Northeast Area Commission where I live. And that's close to Easton. And anytime they build anything from Easton to 270 and Cassidy, they have to come to our commission. However, we can vote no, but guess what? The city will overrule us. So we feel like we're doing this for free for our community. I have been down city council twice. I'm planning on going back there next year because, as you know, Easton is almost 20 years old. They have the same zip code I have. And I want to be grandfathered in on my taxes. I am retired. I don't want to be paying exorbitant taxes because they don't live there. They don't live in that neighborhood. So understand that. And so that's what we have to do. Plus, I had my family over the other day and I was telling some of them, and I've done it once before, we need to go to city planning and get our 5, 10, 15, and 20-year plan to see what's going to happen in your neighborhood. So you can't come back and say, my neighborhood, well, this wasn't even your neighborhood from the start. They've already had this in plan when you first moved in. They already knew. So what we have to be vigilant in what we're doing and where we move. To say, now they're moving you all out to Canal Winchester. There's no bus service out there. So if you got a job where you rely on the bus in Columbus, city bus, you will be out of a job. So we have to be vigilant on our politics, and that's part of our politics. And I encourage everyone to call the planning department. I really think that's what it is, and get your 5, 10, 15, 20-year plan. They're going to hesitate to give it to you, but they have to give it to you. And it's yours for the asking.
Thank you very much. Time is getting away from us now. I was instructed that we have to wrap it up, and so I would like to invite Brother Hatim to come up and share a very powerful affirmation with us that we all do together. Brother Hatim.
We're going to do it before we eat. Okay, let's switch up. All right. Commission on one time.
Get ready to smile. Hold on, Mom, go get it.
All right, family. Abarigani.
Thank the panel. Thank the community. Thank the panel.
Abarigani. Yeah. All right, check it out. Everybody stand up just for a second. Move. Come on. Get up there. Sit down and listen. Stretch out a little bit. We ain't got the wellness moment here, but come on, let's stretch. You know, look at your neighbor and say, welcome, welcome. Come on, you know what I'm saying? Hug somebody. Let's get it. All right, so we have some more movement coming. So go and sit down. I want y'all to get ready for it. But let me do this first. Okay. So we want to thank, we good. Let's thank the panel. Give them a round of applause. The questions don't have to stop here. We streamed online, so if you have some other questions that you want to ask them, you can ask, and I'll try to get in touch with each one or whatever. Go to GNJmedia.live, and you can get that broadcast. So, we got a couple more minutes. I know some of you out there are like, what we gonna eat? We gotta do the programming first. All right, so be patient with us. We got one more thing to do. Actually, 2 more things to do. Then we'll get to the food. If you hungry, say ashe. If you hungry, say ashe. I guess y'all ain't hungry, so we keep on going. I got another panel for y'all. If you hungry, say ashe. All right, cool. What's up? So here we go. Now, principle of the day is near. And one of the things that we got to start focusing on as a people is learning how to live on purpose. Many of us have been thrown into this life and we live accidentally. So we got to become conscious about everything we do. Family, we all received an inheritance from our ancestors. What's the inheritance? Me, myself, I can say I got a tie from my grandfather. That was it. But that tie meant a lot to me. But my grandfather gave me something more important than that. He gave me space and time to do something with. One of the things we have to start doing is start working in each moment so that we can start leaving our children space and time. But along with that, start leaving them resources as well. Because many of us had to start from zero. So now, going to the political question. How many of y'all know how many seats will be available in Columbus in 2023? Do anybody know? For a city council. How many seats for the city council will be open in 2023? Every last one of them. We had the political power to fill at least 3 of those seats. How about the school board? When is the next election for that? Why don't we, as a community, those of us that was listening to some of the stuff up here, start getting activated so that we can start putting people in those positions? Because that's how they do it. I'm just like, yo, I come up to help raise funds, but the issue that I'm really concerned about is that I want to make sure that we are utilizing and exercising these principles and realize that in order for us to do everything, it requires us to be able to produce the economic resources for that. Here's the point. We got a young lady by the name of Morgan Harper. Morgan Harper. Is it Morgan Harper? She's running for office. But in order to run for office, you got to raise what? Okay, cool. We got a group called Taiwi Family Village that love to throw Kwanzaa and other events. And it takes money to do that. Shut up. Now, listen. So the point that I'm trying to make is this. Yeah, that's your fault. Why don't you come finish? That's what I'm saying. All I'm trying to say is this. And y'all got to excuse me because I get excited because we only get our people together once a year anyway. So for people to come and just, it's irritating me. So let me say this to you, family. In order for us to keep doing what we're doing, everything we do costs us money. We walk into this room and some people asked the question yesterday, why y'all raising funds? Every time we come into this room, we have to pay. All the food that we got to pay. Then after that, we got other expenses because they said that the study group is free. The study group is not free. Somehow, some way, we got to pay. So if we are going to build our community, we got to start with us. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. So now let me get to it. Since everybody in a hurry, listen. Nah, but the point is not to know where we're going. Just ride. You know what I'm saying? Now, family, listen. What I need is, I'm going to do fundraising. I'm asking for anybody that has $20 that is willing to donate $20 to what we're doing. Please, raise your hand. Yes. We got 20 right here. We got 20 right here. We got 20 over here. Josiah, come get one of these bags, baby. Over here, Sasha.
Do people have their hands up?
Thank you. Any other 20s? Raise your hand so the babies can see you. Right here. The brother got 20 right here. If you could, we're going to move to 10. Anybody in here who's willing to donate 10, please raise your hand. We're looking for $10 donations. Anybody? We got brother in the back. Brother in the back. Right here, Jasana. So now we're going to move it to 5. Do we got any 5s? We got a 5 back there. We got a 5 right here. We got another 5 over here.
Oh, this is the 10. Oh, this is the
10. Mama Ziza, you ready? All right, we're going to move to the $1. Elder Renee back in the back. We're going to move to the $1. All right, cool. All right, we got dollars. Any dollars? We got dollars. They're raising their hands. Look for the hands raised, babies. I'm gonna get off the stage since we gotta hurry up and get somewhere. I don't know where we're going. So, Brother Mike.
So now we're going to do something very special. Most of you know who Mama Aziza is. Your Highness here. And she is going to lead the drum and dance portion of the program. Now what Mama Aziza is going to do is she's going to do 4 portions. Now this is audience participation, the first 4 portions. And this is about us moving. So you saw Brother Hatim come up and he got you to stretch and stuff, and but now we're going to do some more moving. This is a part of what's necessary in order for us to start to move in the vibration of Africanness. And we all need that. I know I do. So Mama Aziza, if you don't know, she teaches at the YMCA on Tuesdays and Thursdays, the YMCA on Woodland, and she also teaches at the
YMCA Valley View, West Side, YMCA Valley View.
YMCA Valley View West Side on Fridays. Zumba, line dance, she does the works.
Okay, so right now, for those of you that don't mind coming right up here and participating, the first two segments is short. I want to show you some African dance movement. A lot of people like to dance it. A lot of people know how to dance it, but I want those that aren't sure to experience it. I'm going to show you the movements, okay? So there's
come on, stand up, everybody. Stand up. Get on your feet. Come on now. Come on now. Everybody stand up. This is your heritage. Come on now. Come on up, y'all. Come on. This is your heritage. This is all family. Come on now. That's right.
This movement, do this is nice, it's easy. It's gonna get you really hungry. You're gonna be ready to eat when we get through doing this. Coming?
sufrir, si te veo llorar, por lo que no te conviene, me da dolor verte así, quisiera remediar esa amargura que me tienes. Yo te veo sufrir, si te veo llorar, porque te solo olvido, me da dolor verte así, quisiera remediar lo malo que tú has vivido. Yo no entiendo lo que sientes, sufres por ella y ni siquiera se arrepiente. Mientras tanto, yo aquí muriendo por alejarlo y arreglarlo de tu mente. Yo no entiendo lo que sientes, sufres por ella.
All right, good. Hit it up. Here we All right, you got one more.
Esto comenzó, esto es una vaina que me huele a poporo. Rendan los motores, nos vamos en la motocross. Todas las morenas andan buscando todos los pros. Maicena, cuidado, está caliente y te quema. Si ritmo y un file, dale, sigue la cadena. Tengo lo que pide, tengo todas las cosas buenas. Tengo lo que pide, tengo todas las cosas buenas. Así que ponte me plena. Muévete ese cuerpo, alegría, Macarena. Muévete ese cuerpo, alegría, Macarena. Sonando como mela, estamos relatadas, estamos aquí a beso mela. Como ritmo que le pega, ellos han mentido, dime si le llega. Por el occidente, quédate pendiente, te voy a lavar la mente. Tengo palabras que son muy inteligentes.
They doing that back there, they doing it, yeah.
Y dale conto, y dale conto, y dale conto. Muévete ese cuerpo, alegría, Macarena. Muévete ese cuerpo, alegría, Macarena. Yo fui la que se graduó. El que se fue contra mí ya falló. Siente el palo que se dio. Mucho duro para sentir la canción de una nota que mata. Yo soy el terror. Tu nota de boca, yo soy la mejor.
Smooth with the cuts.
Vete y tú sabes para dónde. Vete y tú sabes para dónde. Vete y tú sabes para dónde. Vete, digo para dónde. Y yo escuchando tus mentiras, solo falta que estás hecho. Quería saber si te atrevías. Eres tú que me sufrimiento.
Brothers and sisters, what you are now witnessing is Mama Aziza in the Kwanzaa night mode. You're now receiving instruction from Mama Aziza and Kathy Islam. Give them a round of applause. How wonderful it is. You know, us young sisters got something to look forward to. To be able to move like that. Give them another round of applause. Mama Aziza and Kathy Islam. How wonderful. How wonderful. So we'd like to thank everybody for coming out, and especially the babies. They're just so sad. Mama Aziza went off the stage. That's okay, you're going to get to see her because we're going to have Mommy bring you over to her class. We'd like to thank all of the performers, and we'd like to promote the vendor marketplace, which is back in the back, all the vendors, back past the bathrooms. We'd like to thank and acknowledge all of the drummers. Thank you. Thank you for your contribution. And our sound man also. And the drummers and the sound man have been here every night. So let's give a round of applause again. The sound man is Keto Denham. So remember his name. You need sound, you know who to contact. All right, so we're going to turn it over to Elder Tony for the Brother Hatim for the closing circle, and we want to allow the children to share and enjoy the Karamu.
Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, could you hold your hand up? Hold your right hand up. Touch your heart. Kwanzaa should always be in our heart. And another thing that should always be in your heart is the inspiration, motivation, the desire to read. I'm a member of the National Sorority of Phi Delta Kappa. And every year on Martin Luther King's birthday, we ask everyone that we know to take an hour to read. Just take 1 hour to read. You do the restroom, the bathroom, one time in our life we could not read. We were not allowed to read. Now we can read, but we don't read. And so this is our national incentive, because we are an educational professional organization made up of teachers, certified teachers. So I need everyone, please do not leave tonight without pledging to read, and you can read to your children. But that's the National Sorority of Phi Delta Kappa, and Gamma Alpha chapter is located here in Columbus. Thank you. Touch your heart and say, I pledge to read forever. Reading is power.
All right, family, if you could, give a round of applause. Powerful pledge. Let's circle up, family. Let's circle up. We're going to do the closing circle. And from the closing circle, we're going to move to the food. Now, elders, go first. I know y'all hungry. I appreciate your patience. But we want to make sure all of the elders following our tradition go first. So we want to start right here, and we want the circle to stop right here at the drums. Right here. So Elder Tony is going to light the last 2 candles for us as a community as we complete this ritual. Ladies, y'all need to get up, get in the circle. So repeat after me. Minute by minute. Y'all can do better than that. Minute by minute. Hour by hour. If you lose your history, you lose your power. Minute by minute. Hour by hour. If you lose your faith, you lose your power. If it is to be, it's up to me. I feel good about myself. I feel good about the people around me. I feel goodness all around me. And it will follow me for the rest of my life. Because I walk with good. And I talk with good. And I am good. And that feels real good. Good, better, best. Never let it rest. Till your good is your better. And your better is your best. Black people, we were great. We shall be greater still. Lose not faith. Lose not courage. Go forward. Uplift the race. Harambe! 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 Family, I forgot to tell y'all, tonight we raised $266. That's what I'm talking about. And the total for these 5 days, we raised $1,412. Thank you.
You can say that again 2 times. I need to.
So, when y'all get a chance, make sure you check out some of the artwork from the children over the past 7 days, or 5 days, as well as from the Kwanzaa camp. And they're going to allow us to leave our display up until tomorrow. Say what? Elders first. I said that. Elders first. Elders first.
Please, I need my hug.
Test, test. Hiya, Bingy. Hiya, Bingy.
I added $5 to your money. You got about $10.
Straight from the Blue Mountains, the Bushman come down. And they deal with street righteousness.
Devin on the he wasn't on there either.
Once you see the glory, they pan the Bushman. When they come down from the mountains, and the Bushman attack both sides.
We're working out. We got raised 14 as well. Right. I was 13.
Shall break every chain. A conquering lion shall break every chain. Give him victory. Again and again and again and again. Conquering lion shall break every chain. A conquering lion shall break every chain. Give him, give him, give him, give him, give him, give him the victory. Again and again and again give us the victory. How many times? Again and again and again and again and again and again. Give him victory.
so very much what it used to be. There's so much hatred, war and poverty. Wake up all the teachers, time to teach a new way. Maybe then they'll listen to what you have to say. They're the ones who's coming up, and the world is in their hands. When you teach the children to do the very best you can. The world won't get no better if we just let it be. Na, 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 na. The world won't get no better. We gotta change it, guys, just the way we. Wake up all the doctors, make the old people well. They're the ones who suffer and catch all the hair. They don't have so very long before the judgment day. So won't you make them happy before they pass away? Wake up all the builders, time to build a new land. I know we can do it if we all lend a hand. Only thing we have to do is put it in our minds. Surely things will work out. They do it every time. The world won't get no better if we just let it be. The world won't get no better. We gotta change it, yeah, just you and me. Change it, yeah, just you and me. Change it, yeah, do it alone. Need some help now. And do it alone, yeah. What do you got? Everybody, what do you got? Everybody, need a little help, y'all. Yes, we need a little help. Say it for something, y'all. I'll change the world, what it used to be. I do it alone. Need some help, guy. Wake up, everybody. Get up. Wake up, come on. Wake up, everybody. Teach a new way. Maybe there's not this song. What you got to say? Everybody, no more sleeping, no more thinking. Come on. I'm talking about don't push out, stop, push that, don't push, don't use that, stop using it, don't. We got it. You preachers, stop preaching. Teaching you way, they're the ones that suffer. Mention every day. Teach the children, teach the babies, teach the babies, teach the children, teach the children, teach the babies, teach the children, teach the babies. Tell the one who's coming out.
Fall in your ways, so you can grow. Fall in your ways, so you can sleep at night. Fall in your ways, so you can wake up. Fall in your ways, so you can fall in your ways, so you can sleep at night. Fall in your ways, so you can wake up.